Hello and welcome to episode 277 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. From 1975, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's been voted many times as one of the funniest films ever made, one of the best British films ever made. I'm not a big Monty Python fan, purely by the fact that I had never really grown up with it. I've never seen anything from the TV show. But obviously the movies that they made spawned from the TV show, including this one, The Holy Grail. And I saw this for the first time about 6 or 7 years ago, and I thought, wow, that this is brilliant, like really funny, great British humor, classic comedy. So I wanted to show it to Connie to get her reaction and to do the review for this book. So we rewatched I rewatched the film. You saw it for the first time. No, you'd seen it before. Or you'd seen bits of it. Okay, so you had seen it before. We both revisited this film.
I didn't remember all of it, but that was obviously a different part of my life.
Yeah, so...
It might have been very late, and I might have been drinking maybe even too, which is probably why I find it funny.
Okay, right. Anyway, so I know this is going to be boring for you, but it'll take me about 5 or 10 minutes just to get through the plot of this film. So
You're joking.
Of course I'm joking. The plot of the film is that King Arthur, played by Chapman, is looking for the Holy Grail. And then all the members of Monty Python just do sketches. That's it. It's just, there's a vaguely string together plot of him looking for the Holy Grail and finding some people to come with him. And there's dozens of characters all played by, John Cleese and Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, and of course, Graham Chapman. See, because when I think of Monty Python, I mainly think of Terry Gilliam, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin. When it comes to Terry Jones, I'm not as familiar, and when it comes to Graham Chapman, I'm not as familiar.
I only know John Cleese.
Yeah, which makes sense, I guess.
The rest of them, who are they?
Well, you probably know Eric Idle. I mean, he plays the stupid sidekick in Casper, So you've probably seen him in films in bit parts. No,
I didn't recognize him in Casper, other than from Casper.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess to be fair, in this film, in Holy Grail, they're in costume and beards and stuff sometimes, and well, not always. I don't know. It makes sense. I mean, I've grown up with it because it's a very British institution, Monty Python, where you haven't grown up in Britain, so it's kind of a completely different thing.
With American and Norwegian TV,
So, bottom line, this did not age well, which is a weird thing to say because
I thought you were gonna go like, oh, I love it, it's so great, and
it was 75, 85, 95, 2005, so it was almost 40 years old when I saw it for the first time, and I loved it. And it's only about 5 or 6 years after that, so it
Maybe you were drunk too.
No, I wasn't. I was just you'd gone away to see your mum or something. I had like a few days at home in Norway. I watched some like classic films I'd never seen before. Watched it in the middle of the day, loved it. I wasn't tired or anything. Nothing.
Maybe the other movies you watched were really bad, and then it was just good.
No, it was all good films. I don't know. I think if I watched it with like the guys, I'd probably really enjoy it more
because they would be laughing.
There's partially an element of where like all the jokes happening in this film, and Connie is just like dead silent. Like it just absolutely, it just airbagged the whole way through. But at the same time, I still, it didn't quite grab me as much. I enjoyed the whole, tis but a scratch. The knight and everything. He's chopping his legs off, and it's funny, but it's
really?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's a classic scene. But watching it now, it was more just like, oh yeah, than laugh out loud funny. And then there are some things where it just wasn't landing with me.
It's more of a groan for me. It's like, ugh.
Right. Well, no, nothing was grown with. Well, maybe a few things, but
the funny thing about that scene
I'll tell you what. Go on.
Was that he needed to cross that bridge behind him, which was across a tiny stream.
You could just hop across the stream.
You could go anywhere else. You didn't need to pass him.
See, that's funny.
That was funny. And then another funny bit was the intro with the whole.
The Swedish subtitles. And that's so funny.
Well, it wasn't really Swedish.
No, it wasn't really Swedish. It was supposed to be. I'll tell you what, I'll give him this. It was one of those things where I was like scrambling around the remote going, why have they got foreign subtitles on?
I think that made it more funny.
It did, because I was just like, they got me. They fucking got me. And I'd already seen it before, and they got me again, those motherfuckers. So,
but you could tell, like, if you read it in Swedish English or Norwegian English.
Yeah, well, it disintegrates as it goes along. You start to realise what the joke is, and then
they kept going.
They overdid it,
else,
yeah.
And then it was like,
it just went on and on.
It's done now. The subtitles were funny, and then they said this person has been sacked. And then it did it 2 or 3 more times,
Yeah.
and I was just like,
The person who did
don't
the
they
sacking
know
has
where
now
to
been sacked.
stop with
Well,
things?
I guess that's the point, is they're pushing it and they keep pushing it, and that's kind of the style of the
That
humour.
makes me just feel kind of sick. Or it might be that I just ate too much food.
The thing with this film is that there's one really great bit in it, and like as I was watching
I'm intrigued.
as I was watching the film, I was thinking, oh shit, like is even that bit not going to be funny to me now? And it's when John Cleese storms the castle, and you got the 2 guards. They just kind of stood there, just like, you know, lazily guarding the door. And then suddenly, off in the distance, you see John Cleese running up.
Oh
over
right,
there.
yeah, I did find that bit funny.
And
The first 2 times.
and they're looking over, and they just keep repeating the same shot again and again. So he's not really making any distance. And then all of a sudden, he just explodes
Yeah.
into frame. Yeah, and
They did drag it out a little bit too long.
it was so funny.
Again, because that's obviously what they do. It's
Oh,
like
cracked me
a
up.
bunch of dads wrote this, and so they're thinking, okay, they laughed at this the first time, so we're going to tell the same joke again. Oh, they're still laughing. Let's tell it 5 more times before we get to the punchline properly in the end. So that was actually one of the funnier bits.
Yeah.
And I did chuckle the first 2 times, but the remaining 5, I was just like, just finish it. And then he was there, and I was just like, I was already annoyed by the fact that they spent too long getting it done.
It wasn't so much the repeating of the same shot, which is funny, but it's just the reveal when the guard, I think the guard's eating an apple or something, and he gets so caught off guard by it. And it's like the frame of the movie is like the only reality for these guards, and suddenly John Cleese says, yeah, stabs him, and then he goes in this crazy thing. And then, you know, it kind of peters off a bit once he gets inside the castle, and they go through the whole, you know, rigmarole of all the other stuff. Anyway, there's some good stuff, you know, they're mixing animation in there. I'll give him this. It's such a wildly unhinged film. And, you know, a lot of people love it. And I can see why. Okay, yeah, the one thing that was groan-worthy for me was the...
One?
Yeah, there's only one that I thought... and it's... was it The Knights, or We Are the People Who Say Ni? Or Ni, or whatever.
Yeah. Ni.
No, just
Ni.
didn't, no. Just like...
And then when they came back...
No. The bridge scene's great when he's just like, you gotta answer questions, go for the bridge, and like he gets it wrong. He's like, what's your favorite color? Blue. Oh, there you go then. Like, that was funny. So there's just these funny bits that kind of sprinkled in for me that kept my interest enough, but overall, I just... So I'm intrigued to watch The Life of Brian, because that's also in the book. I'll watch that alone, don't worry. Because I think we've gotten a pretty good idea of your reaction to Monty Python. I think I'm more on the fence now than I was before, and I need to see more of it. And again, it's all down to mood, isn't it, when it comes to comedy, but also down to personal preference. And with comedy, it's so subjective.
That's the thing.
And it's a very specific...
15 years ago, I would find this hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think my eyes got a good workout because I was rolling them so much. And it's just the repetitiveness of it. I feel like a lot of the jokes, obviously, is similar types of jokes and stuff like that. Because it's all done by the same people throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same...
It didn't work for me.
It's like the same 6 guys, I think it's 6, and, you know, they all wrote the film, 2 of them directed it, so it's very much, it was their thing.
I just found it more annoying than funny, to be honest.
And I think that's fair enough. There was one part where the joke was that a scene was going on, and it just cuts to the crew up on the hill, and they're like, get on with it! And I thought, that's both funny, but I'm also feeling the same emotion of get on with it.
And there was those 2 guards in that room, and he was explaining how his son could not
I like that
leave
humor.
the room.
I like that kind of... Yeah, I understand why it's frustrating and annoying.
I wanted to rip my hair out.
It tickles me. I like that. I like that stuff. The word play and the kind of back and forth.
Because you do that to wind me up sometimes. That's
maybe that's
probably
it, yeah.
why. And maybe that's what annoyed me more with it. I don't know what it was. I didn't like it. I was really, really looking forward for it to finish. And the fact that we're doing the review now is just like, I'm really hoping this review is done soon too.
Yeah.
Because I feel myself getting annoyed.
There's not so much more to say.
It.
I want to listen to the audio commentary because apparently John Cleese is just like talking about all the things he doesn't like about the film. And I have read that John Cleese didn't like the ending of the film because he felt like they rushed it. And yeah, the ending, it really feels like they just, I've got no more ideas. Just end it. Let's just end it. And so the ending scene is just a bit odd. Though I do like the kind of the snippets throughout the film of is it a teacher who gets stabbed or something, and the police turn up like it's set during, you know, the time of King Arthur, and you got these very 1970s British policemen running around out and like chasing after them, almost chasing after the movie in a way. There's some smart things in the film, some clever things, and there's some good comedy, but a lot of it is, you know,
it all depends on your humor.
It's a specific style,
yeah,
and they take that style and they do that style to perfection. Whether you like it or not, they take that as far as they can with that style of British humor. I think.
British humor is called British humor for a reason. It's a humor of its own.
There's varying strands of British humor, but this specific type is, you know, there's an anarchy to it, and there's a kind of rebelliousness to it.
The thing is, Norwegian humor and British humor is actually known for being quite similar.
Okay.
And I think that the Norwegians have been inspired by a lot of the British humor because it's so silly. And at least I remember seeing that in some of the shows back in the 90s or beginning of the 2000s and stuff like that. And that's when I liked that kind of humor as well. But humor has evolved to something else now. And no.
Like when they're launching the fucking cow over the over the castle, I was just like, wow, okay. And I knew that as a kid I'd probably find that really funny.
It's just over the top.
And I think that might be something that the people watch it as a kid and they kind of, it takes them back to that. I don't know, maybe. Might be kind of a Drop Dead Fred situation where it's like, it doesn't quite age as well. I don't know. Anyway, so Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Is it a film you should see before you die?
If you like that kind of humor, sure. If you don't, no.
Right. Just as a general answer to the question. Just as a general, do you think it's a film you should see?
I can't answer the question.
Can't answer the question. That's interesting.
No, I just can't, because I know that there's so many people, because it's such a famous movie.
It is. It's a hugely famous film.
Pretty much everyone knows about this movie. I know about it.
Or at least know about Monty Python in general.
Yeah, and even though I didn't enjoy it, at least I can tick it off as one of the movies I've seen, even though I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So just because I don't like the movie doesn't mean that you shouldn't watch it. So I would say yes, based on that. Personal opinion, I would be fine if I could erase it from my memory, but then I would probably watch it again and hate it. So I'm going to remember this time that I've definitely seen the movie. I didn't like it. Don't watch it again.
Yeah. It's a yes from me. I think it doesn't need to be, you know, is it a film you should see before you die? Does that mean I loved it? I didn't love it, honestly, and it's
simply based on the fact that it's such a famous movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things you should tick off, even if you hate it.
But, like, you know, it's something you should see before you die implies that, like, you know, you haven't seen it before. And so if you haven't seen this film before and you haven't seen Monty Python before, it could be something that you really love. And then this is, like, the best version of that.
Yeah, you don't know until you tried it.
Yeah. But otherwise, for me, I didn't quite enjoy revisiting it. I'd probably watch it again many years down, like maybe 10, 50, I don't know. It's just, I'm not keen to go back to it, for sure. With the commentary, maybe. That'd be interesting.
Maybe we'll watch it really late in the night when we're stinking drunk, and maybe we'll find it funny then.
Yeah. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
So just a brief editor's note here. I'm currently sat at my desk editing this video in November of 2023. Me and Connie filmed this review almost 3 years ago, January of 2021, and I'd kind of forgotten that my reaction to the film was kind of like, you know, although I'm not surprised in Connie's reaction at all. But I do remember now, having gone through this footage, that the jokes were starting to wear a bit thin, and it was something that hadn't quite held up for me, even though it's a film I came to much later on in life. But I still do think it's a classic, and I just wanted to, as I'm going through the images for this review, I did want to say that I think some of the scenery and the cinematography in particular that captures that scenery are beautiful. There's some great visual moments in there. The animation is gorgeous, you know. So there's some really good strengths to the film technically that kind of almost make it funnier that you have this absolutely absurdist comedy, and all this effort has gone into these beautiful costumes. There's great makeup effects. You know, I mean, yes, some of the locations at times feel a bit cheap or kind of slapped together a bit, and they look a bit dreary and stuff. But there's the really shining moments, I think, of just filmmaking that makes it a much bigger experience than it might have been if they were doing all these sketches in a studio somewhere or in a small location. So I just want to add that in there, and I still do think it's one of the all-time great comedy films that should be seen. It's just that comedy is so subjective. You could never tell. I mean, again, it could all be down to like the place I was in my life when I watched it. It can be down to the time of the day in which we watched it, you know. So it is one I'm keen to go back to now, having looked back at the footage and the review as I'm editing it. So I just thought that was interesting, how things always seem different at different times, and I did want to give credit, at least in this video, to the technical aspects of the film, which I think were very well done. Anyway, thank you for watching again, and one more time, we'll see you, probably, maybe, in the next one.